thing in hippotherapy. I will try to tell about negative effects of human health of homolateral step pattern transmission from a horse. I will try to tell about two topics, about homolateral step pattern and about basic positions on the horse, which are also connected with homolateral step pattern. It will be very difficult for me to tell these topics in a short time, because in St. Petersburg I have 2 days seminar with my students connected with this topic. And in order to start talking about the basic positions of the patient on the horse that harms that patient health, it is necessary to find out how the therapeutic effect of hippotherapy works. The most important aspect is the biomechanical one. What are the movements of animals and humans? First, all animals and humans, of course, have reflex movements. After reflex, coming locomotor movements, then voluntary movements, and after voluntary movements, automatic movements. We shall speak more about locomotion. Locomotion is a set of coordinated movements determined by the genetic program by which an animal or human actively moves in space. There are some types of locomotion. Stepping, I mean walk. Running, trotting, galloping, jumping. There are also different types of vertebrate patterns in animals. First is spiny tail-head movement. Fish and snakes have this type of vertebrate pattern. Homologous movement. It is a symmetrical movement of two upper or two lower limbs. Amphibians move in this pattern. Homolateral movements or amble. Sorry for my English, and maybe the word amble is not exact. I mean by this word, because in Russian we have only one word, and in English I found many different words which are describing this pattern of walk. I mean simultaneous movement of two left or two right limbs. Two left together and two right together. Occurs in animals that have gallop. Possibly a failure of complex locomotion program or primitive reflexes not reduced. In the literature, this pattern is often attributed to reptiles, but it is not true. Reptiles move in a heterolateral pattern of stride I mean walk, and trot. The biggest question is, amble is a reflex or locomotion? For example, humans, all of us, never use homolateral pattern if our central nervous system is healthy. But we can see this pattern in walk of people with cerebral palsy, because their central nervous system is not healthy, and so they can't move in locomotion. They begin to use reflex in their pattern of walk. And another locomotion is not locomotion. Now we are speaking about vertebrate patterns. And heterolateral or contralateral movement. It means left posterior, first left anterior, right posterior, right anterior. And of course, all of us mammals, we are mammals, and amphibians and reptiles, all these animals use this heterolateral movement. Here on the picture you can see it. First, fish, and fishes have spiny tailhead movement. Frogs, amphibians, they have homologous movement, but also they have heterolateral. The third, you can see here a dog with abnormal movement. This is amble, and you know that it's not healthy. And fourth, mammals. Humans are also in this category of animals, and you can see the dog, you can see any other animals, and for example dolphin. Dolphin is also mammal, and dolphin doesn't have spiny tail head movement as a fish. Dolphin has absolutely another pattern of movement, and we can make the same pattern as a dolphin when we are swimming by butterfly. Yeah? We are swimming in the same way as dolphins. So humans can move as a dolphin. Man, like all mammals, goes through a stage of vegetative primitive reflexes before we can walk and run. There are 26 primitive reflexes in humans. The most important reflexes for our profession in hippotherapy, and we are able to recognize. We must very easy find such kind of reflex as fear paralysis reflex. It is called startle reflex. Maro, galant, paras, tonic labyrinthine reflex, symmetric cervical tonic reflex, asymmetric cervical tonic reflex, turnover, crawling, and some other. There are 26. It is interesting that a horse passes almost all of these reflexes, but in the body of its mother. And it's born with locomotion, while a human starts locomotion at 10-12 months. A young horse may, however, show some non-reduction reflexes as well, such as ambling. So ambling is reflex, which normally must disappear in the first month of life of this young horse. The complete reduction of all 26 primitive reflexes in our human body should end by the age of 8 years. So child can has some reflexes up to 8 years. In the first year of life, the child goes through a stage of homolateral crawling, then heterolateral crawling, first homolateral crawling, then heterolateral crawling, and then starts walking normally in heterolateral pattern. The presence of homolateral crawling and walking pattern after 16 months of age is a sign of an unreduced reflex. This is pathological in both in human and in the animal. For example, ambling dogs are not allowed for breeding. In fact, it is a disorder of both somatic and vegetative nervous systems. There on the picture you can see how walk, trot, and gallop goes in the legs. So walk. I'm not speaking now about the horse. It can be any kind of mammals. So walk. We can start with a green line. Left hind leg, then left front leg, then goes to hind right leg, and then front right leg, and then goes back to left hind, again left front, then again right hind and right front. So this is a good pattern of walk for any kind of mammals and for humans also. I think trot and gallop you know very well. So in this picture we can see 8, perfect 8 phases of walk of the horse. And the same 8 phases we can see in the human walk. They're absolutely the same. In this picture you can see also the same thing. And there also you can see that our steps are the same as steps of the horse. So yellow, red, blue, green. I like to give this picture to my students when they are trying to understand how the horse is walking. And now we shall speak about basic principles of hippotherapy. And the first and the main is the blameless biomechanics of the horse's stride, of the horse's walk. It's transmitting heterolateral stride impulses to the human body. It's very important to transmit heterolateral walk from the body of the horse to the body of the rider. Second, the horse's center of gravity is below the rider's center of gravity. And the human central axis has as its external references points: ear, shoulder, hip joint, heel. The axis runs through a person's center of gravity and the horse's center of gravity. It's very important. If the horse transmits a pathological homolateral pattern to the rider's body, then the human brain realigns itself from the locomotor movement program of the cerebral cortex to the setting of the automatic reflexes of the midbrain, which may also be responsible for movements. So you understand, when we grow up to 8 years old, all our movements are controlled by cortex. But if locomotion program, something is wrong with it, our locomotion will be not in good condition, and our midbrain will take a work for cortex, and our reflexes will go out. A horse can have 2 problems in which a person will be harmed by the homolateral pattern. First, the horse moves in amble or dangerous step. I don't know the exact word English. In Russian, we say dangerous step. It means a walk of the horse is coming to amble. It's not amble, but hind left leg, for example, hind left, then front left, but they steps very near to each other. And the rhythm will be, for example, the perfect rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 4. If it is dangerous step, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So dangerous step is very bad for our brain. Second, the horse's center of gravity is shifted forward, not under the rider's center of gravity. If the horse's center of gravity is in front of the rider's center of gravity, the rider is behind the horse's center of gravity. So these centers are not on the one axis. In this case, the rider's body will move in homolateral pattern, while the horse is visually moving correctly. So we will see that the horse is moving absolutely normal. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything is okay, but the center is not. The center of gravity is not under the center of gravity of the rider, and all movement from the body of the horse to the body of the rider, all these movements will come to the body of rider in homolateral pattern. Also, the rider's body will be in a homolateral movement pattern if the rider is lying on his back or belly, turning head to the tail of the horse. The rider's body is behind the axis, and therefore only the hind legs are pulsed through, and the whole body is moving in the homolateral pattern. I will show this in video, so you will see. What happens to a person when they start moving in homolateral pattern? The cerebral cortex loses control over the locomotor movement program. It sort of shuts down, not completely, of course, but so much so that vegetative reflexes start to control the person. Each person has their own peculiarities. Some of these 26 reflexes are different in each of us, but have not been reduced for up to 8 years, and may be seen again due to dysfunction of the spinal or craniocerebral nerve roots. I am testing my clients, my patients, as a doctor of osteopathy, and I can say, believe me, that everybody, and me also, we have some pathological reflexes from some of these 26 reflexes. For example, me, I have about 5 or 6 reflexes. If a person is placed in a homolateral pattern, which is one of the primitive reflexes, the other primitive reflexes are also activated. Because homolateral pattern is our reflex that must be reduced about 8-9 months of our age. If we put our body in this reflex, other reflexes of mid-brain will also will activate. Once we have impaired locomotion, the brain falls into the reflexes. A person may feel a headache, vertigo, nausea, an attack of depression, for example, sudden or delayed pain in the internal organs, spikes in blood pressure, changes in heart rhythm, back pain. Now I will talk about the effect of different riding position of the rider's body. But to prove this effect, I will introduce the method of testing, and I will talk about the effect of different riding position on the rider's body. I will introduce the method of testing through manual muscle testing. These tests are used in applied kinesiology. MMT, manual muscle tests, is used by specialists in osteopathy, psychotherapy, massage, and many other methods of physical and psychological rehabilitation. I have been using MMT in my work with patients for 4 years as a doctor of osteopathy, and now for about 2 years I use this method in testing my clients in hippotherapy, and I use it in testing horses, and I will be very glad to show for you this method. First, I will show a video about testing the horse by the rider using MMT, and the name of this test is walk pattern. I will try to explain this method. So look at this video.
Сейчас мы производим тест нашего
This
всадника.
girl, I come to her
Встать.
and I put her in
Чуть-чуть пошире можно сделать ножку. Еще
in
пошире.
homolateral pattern.
Ага.
And
Давим.
and
Поменяли ножки.
heterolateral pattern. In this
Давим.
position,
Ага.
there is
Здесь
no
слабость.
force, there is no
Давим.
strength.
Сила. Мы проверили, человек в нормальном
in
неврологическом
heterolateral
состоянии.
pattern, she
С
has
паттернами шага все хорошо. Теперь мы
the force, the
сажаем
strength,
нашего
and in
всадника.
homolateral, she doesn't. Now, she is sitting on the horse.
Поводочек вниз.
This horse
Ручки
is
вот сюда.
hot blood
И занимаемся
You can
обычной
see,
терапией.
body. This
Шагаем.
horse has a very
Наша
good
задача подтвердить,
pattern
что
of
может правильно воздействовать на организм всадника. И вот
shot of my video. I am testing this girl about 5 minutes. I'm testing not the girl, I'm testing the horse. The girl is all right. Her reflexes are good.
давайте сейчас выйдем на
I make
серединку.
shot of the hill.
Сделаем
Now
остановку.
we will
Остановку.
see the result of our test.
Всадник спешивается
So, the rider.
аккуратно на две конечности.
Unmounted. And I put the girl in the same position. Homolateral. There is no strength and there is strength. Again. There is no strength
Хорошо.
and there is strength. It's strength in
Все. Мы
heterolateral pattern.
протестировали лошадь.
And there is no
Всё
strength
хорошо.
in
Теперь
homolateral pattern.
мы посадим всадника
So now
положение
we
задом
can see
наперед.
that this
Можно выключить?
horse is very good, and the nervous system of the rider in the same position as before the riding. Now I will tell some little information about applied kinesiology. Applied kinesiology is the science that studies skeletal muscle tone, how it's formed, and the factors of external and internal environment that contribute to its change in the form of the formation of functional muscle weakness. So we can test weakness and strength of muscles. The factors that change muscle tone can be of mechanical, chemical, and energetic genesis. From this point of view, functional weakness of muscles is an indicator that reflects pathology of different organs and body systems. In this regard, it can be used in the diagnosis of various diseases and is of applied nature. Some words how it was found. Bernstein Nikolai, it's our Russian very famous scientist, psychophysiologist, and he is creator of the concept of activity physiology and new methods for recording natural human movements in normality and pathology. He described the presence of two phases of isometric contraction: phasic, regulation involving cortical structures, and tonic, regulation at the thalamo-pallidar system level, its mid-brain, and described the occurrence of large amplitude pallidary tremor in muscle during isometric contraction. And he found all this information in 1947. And he wrote a big scientific work about natural human movements in normality and pathology. And this information of Bernstein was used by George Goodhart. It's American scientist and doctor from United States. He was a founder of modern applied kinesiology, developed his methodology in 1964. And so this test of walk pattern, George Goodhart was the author of this method. The main method of diagnosing functional disorders in applied kinesiology in muscle strength testing to detect functional weakness. Now I will tell how it works. We can test two phases, first and second. The resulting decrease in strength in the second phase of isometric contraction is indicative of a functional change in the tone of the muscle under study. This allowed us to substantiate the concept of peculiarities of functional weakness formation that distinguish it from paretic weakness. In paretic weakness, the first phase of isometric contraction decreased. It's very important to understand that in paretic weakness, so we can't test people with cerebral palsy, because people with cerebral palsy, they don't have first phase. While second phase tonic component remained. So people with cerebral palsy, they don't have first phase, but have only second phase of tonic component. Healthy people must have first and second phase. So if we are normal, we have first and second phase strength. In functional weakness, not paretic, the first phase is okay, and the second phase decreased. So during the test, when we put a girl in a heterolateral pattern, her hand has strength. In homolateral pattern, her hand has weakness, and it's normal test. And we saw it. The main mechanism of the formation of the phenomenon of functional muscle weakness, description of its tone. Excitability, disruption of the sequence of inclusion of muscle groups in movement. And extensibility can be diagnosed by the methods of manual testing. From the point of view of manual therapy, the main reason for the formation of the phenomenon of functional muscle weakness is its reaction to disafferentation coming to the striopallidar system from the tissues having associative connection with the muscle due to the structural, chemical, or energetic disturbances. Now I will show you the position when the rider sitting hand to the tail and put her hands on the croup. So we will see the result. We will see her muscle tests after. So we made test before, and we know that the horse is perfect, that the girl also is perfect. Her reflexes were good, her muscles were good. And now it's an experiment. We put the rider in this position, and we will see what we will have in the end of our exercise. You know, we usually use this position with our children and sometimes with adults. I will make the video shorter, but you know, we need only 3-4 minutes to make this test.
Обязательно садик аккуратно свешивается.
Coming down. And
и встаем.
This is homolateral. It's okay. And now
чувствуешь, все
you see that in heterolateral pattern,
давим,
her strength
давим. Все.
came
То
to
есть
weakness.
был здоровый
So
человек,
all her
и
muscles
теперь у нее
lost
гипотонус
the strength
и вправе, там, где
because
должен быть
her body
тонус, да, вот это положение силы.
moved
То есть и в
in
положении силы
homolateral pattern.
у нас
So
появилась
we can see
слабость.
this
И во
position
втором
is
положении
very bad
силы
for
тоже
our brain.
появилась слабость. То есть вторая фаза фазического напряжения ушла. Почему ушла? Потому что тело...
I was in this situation 7 years ago, and 7 years ago I didn't know about these effects, and 7 years ago I became to find out why it happens, and it happened with my patient. After a hypnotherapy session, I put the woman to the same position on the horse, and after session she got behind to the wheel of her car. No, she wanted to come out, to go back home, but she could not turn the car around. Her brain could not figure out how to do it, and she complained of dizziness, vertigo. So I didn't know what to do with her, because my patient, for 1 hour, she was in a very bad feeling. And from this time, I began to analyze what I had done wrong on the horse. We ended our session in this position, back to the front riding position with hands resting on the horse's croup. So she was moving in homolateral pattern. So there was a breakdown in her locomotor programs, and her autonomic nervous system was very stressed and also disturbed. You have to understand that all the work of the internal organs, glands, hormonal system, emotions, is the work of our autonomic nervous system. As soon as we weaken the somatic nervous system is controlled by the cortex, which is responsible for all our movements in the body, even a little bit. The autonomic nervous system takes over the alien work and fails the cope. The question of restoring the nervous system back to the way it used to functional depends on the initial state of the patient's nervous system. So sometimes we need 5 minutes. Sometimes we need 1 hour, 2 hours to repair our cortex. So it's okay when our patient is a healthy person, but if we work with a patient with more serious diseases, it will be very dangerous for him. And of course, now I am talking about conditionally healthy people without central nervous system pathology. And of course, we can make these tests only to persons with normal central nervous system. It's not good for us that we can't make this test for our children and adults, persons with cerebral palsy. Let's look at the position of the horse that force the rider's brain out of locomotion programs and turn on basic primitive reflexes.
Какие еще положения точно так же приведут человека в положение движения в гомолатеральном паттерне? Это когда мы ложимся полностью. Ложись, ножки вот сюда. Частое положение, в котором мы работаем с детьми. При этом мы еще, как правило, голову ребенка укладываем. Хорошо, поднимаемся. Положение на вытянутых руках. На предплечьях. Все равно человек находится в гомолатеральном паттерне. То есть двигаться у него будет каждая часть вот так.
We lose the first and the second phase. It's very interesting for me that for some minutes our rider can feel himself as a person with cerebral palsy, because even first phase is losing.
Соответственно, все эти укладки, все эти позы будут вводить мозг всадника в гомолатеральный паттерн. Это будет снижать работу.
What might MMT be needed for? Now I will speak about MMT, what we can take from this method. Test the quality of the therapy horse. Test the ability to use a specific horse for specific client, down to rostral compatibility. To test the feasibility of specific exercises such as traction and compression. For example, compression is trot. Traction is position when our rider is lying on the back. The use of different positions of the host, the benefit or harms of different gaits of a particular horse. And we can test if there is a positive effect after our EFT session. So we can test our client before and after. And if our session was good, muscle tone will be the same as at the beginning. It must be normal. I have been testing horses for the past 2 years, and I can tell about 3 types of horses can be distinguished, provided there are initially healthy horses with no lameness. We don't test horses with lameness, but I did it, and all horses with lameness will give a bad reaction for humans. So the tests will be bad after riding on the lameness horse. First, horses that are bad. I will speak in easy words. So bad horses, and the rider's nervous system. These are ambling horses and having dangerous stride or step and an unbalanced center of gravity. Most often among this group of horses are trotters and cold-blood driving horses. Not only should they not be used in hippotherapy, but it's also harmful for healthy riders to ride them. Horses are neutral. They are not bad and they are not good. They do not worsen the rider's nervous system or improve it. But these are horses with little amplitude of walk, but with right pattern. So they are not bad and they are not good. So they will not give harm to our patients, but they will not give health. And these horses often of aboriginal breeds, and these horses are semi-cold, semi-warm blood. And we have the third type of horses, which I call therapeutic. They are perfect horses. And they improve the rider's health. And how can I test? I take the rider. This rider is not perfect before the riding. So there are some bad things in muscle tone. I can't describe it because it's a very big topic. It's one day to tell you about different tests. But believe me, I took these riders. Their first test is not good. Then I put this rider to a perfect horse. This horse of in video, she is very good. She is a hot blood horse with good movement, and she is giving health to my patients. So I take the rider with bad test. Then I put this rider to this horse, and after the session, tests of the rider became perfect. So I can say that this horse is therapeutic one. And these horses have perfect pattern, perfect big amplitude, evenness, straightness of walk, and most importantly that the position of center of gravity. Center of gravity is under the center of gravity of our rider. The use of bad horses also has a serious impact on healthy people, not only in hippotherapy, but also in usual riding. So I think that you will understand that this topic is very important because our horses can give health and our horses can take health of humans. Now I will show you on my video. I did this video yesterday. Really, I did it yesterday. It's the woman on this video. It's our very famous dressage sportsman, and the horse is Freeze. And now in Europe and in Russia and many countries, people like to ride Freezes. But believe me, I tested many Freeze horse, and their biomechanic is not good for human's brain. And I will show you that. So we make test before riding. It's weakness, it's strength, it's okay. This strength, it's okay, and this weakness in homolateral pattern. After that, she's sitting on the horse, and she is walking for 3-4 minutes. What I can say about this horse?
Оль, можно кружочек в одну сторону, кружочек в
For
другую.
me, as a hippotherapist,
этого, в принципе, для теста.
for me, her walk is not perfect.
Для теста достаточно.
The rhythm is coming to, it's not amble, but it's coming to dangerous step. And I can see that the center of gravity is not under the center of gravity of the rider. And what we see at the result?
Аккуратно.
I put her immediately to the position. It's homolateral,
Только рука.
heterolateral. You see? And there is no strength. It's okay, and it must be, in this position, it must be strength. And this woman was very upset after this test because she thought that her horse is perfect. This is a dressage horse. But you can see that she lost not only second phase of isometric muscle, but she lost even the first phase. So I proved that this horse is not good for hippotherapy. If we want to use this horse in usual riding, everyday riding, not for hippotherapy, we can use trot, we can use gallop, but it will be better not to walk on this horse. So it will be better at the end of the training session to unmounting and to walk with this horse in hand. It will be more good for the health of our cortex, of our brain. So I'm finishing. Thank you very much. I think it was interesting for you to know this information, and I think that it is very important. It's very important for the health of our clients, of our patients, and of our young riders, because you see that nervous system became work in cortex control at 8 years old. And it's very important for children to ride good and therapeutic horse while they are young, because we need to make the good work of our brain. So thank you very much. I think we will discuss this topic together, and I will be very glad to answer to all your questions. So you can write to me in our chat, or you can write to me personally, and I will try to answer all your questions. Thank you very much.